Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling Podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. Well, seeing how we're pulling Category 6A, the most powerful twisted pair in the world, you gotta ask yourself this one question. Did I pull 295 or 300 feet? Well, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk? What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. The elite professional, knowledgeable, and experienced in leading-edge ICT design principles. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That can only mean one thing. After Hours Live with Chuck Bowser, RCDD, where you get to ask your favorite RCDD questions on cable installation, cable certification, cable estimation, project management, even career path questions. Yes, I answer all them kind of questions. Tonight's show is a little bit different. I'm not doing Q&A tonight. I'm doing 10 tips to, hold on, let me find out the title again. I forgot what the title was. 10 tips, or 10 ways to boost your team motivation. Can't hear me. What? Why can't you hear me? What's up with that? Dun, 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 dun. Audio issues. Swipe to the left to closed. Why can they not hear me? Let's do this. Let's blank out and then come back in again. Yes. This is what happens. You know, there's a guy who attends every single live stream, and his name is, what the heck is his name? Murphy, because he messes up every single one that I'm doing, every single time. So let me jump back out and flip back in, and let's see if it works this time, right? There we go. Now let's try it again. There we go. So 10 ways to boost your motivation. So we're not doing Q&A tonight. Tonight's really about leadership. So if you're watching this show and you're a technician in the field, you're probably leading somebody. If you're a project manager, I know you're leading people. If you're an area manager, you're leading people. If you run a project manager department, you're leading people. Even if you are not leading people, why not learn the skills ahead of time? Why not learn them skills ahead of time, right? That's the best thing to do, right? So every Thursday night, 6 p.m., we always do these live Q&A things, but we always start off with, what are you drinking? Look at that, knowledge is power cup. Yes, knowledge is power. That's one of my slogans. So tonight I'm drinking Earl Grey tea with a little bit of honey and some cream. Tell me in the chat box, what are you drinking tonight? All right, what are you drinking tonight? All right, so let me have a sip of my tea. Oh, I love tea. Oh man, I should have been born a Brit. I should have been born a Brit. But there you go. Now the podcast and the episodes, they're always free. I don't ever charge for people watching these shows. But if you find this content valuable, right, and you would like to support us, would you mind clicking on where's that QR code? There it is right there. Scan that QR code right there and then buy me a cup of tea, Earl Grey or something, right? Yes, buy me a cup of tea. You can even schedule a 15-minute one-on-one Zoom call with me. After hours, of course. I don't do that stuff during my day job. My day job, they got me from 8 to 5. After that, I'm wide open for the podcast. Wide open. Yep. I worked on the podcast last night till probably 11:30, 12 o'clock last night. Yeah. And for those who may not know, the podcast is Let's Talk Cabling, where we educate, encourage, and enrich the lives of people in the ICT industry. So, let's go and turn off that QR code. So, next step is we always do the acronym challenge. The acronym challenge. I'm known for the acronym challenge. So tonight's acronym is SOP. SOP. What does that acronym stand for? give you a hint. It has nothing to do with cabling. This has something to do with something with leadership. What does SOP stand for? SOP. I'll give you a few seconds to type in the answer. The first person answers that correctly, we'll get a Let's Talk Cabling sticker. Yep. SOP. What does that stand for? Standard operating procedure. Yes, Bob, you won the sticker. Good job, my friend. Yes, standard operating procedure. Oh, I gotta remember how to turn off this stupid thing now. I'm working with a new platform. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's kind of messing me up a little bit there. So there you go. We turned it off. So SOP. So let's talk about the podcast for a brief second before we get into the 10 leadership tips I've got for you tonight. Okay. So I'm in the middle right now of a 2-part series on how to sell your low voltage company, how to sell your low voltage services with John Appalucci from JPI Associates. He managed a rep firm in the low voltage industry for 30 years. Part 1 episode was aired just Monday of this week. Part 2 will be Monday of next week. We also have shows coming up on single pair Ethernet, how to do a wireless survey, and a bunch of others as well. We got lots of stuff in for. I'm trying to get ahead in my content. So before we start talking about the top 10 ways to boost your team motivation, this is a conversation for everybody. So as I'm going through and I'm giving you these tips, if you can think of a tip that you want to add, please tell me in the TikTok feed, tell me in the chat feed, okay? This is a conversation for everybody. This is not a conversation just for me to talk to you, all right? So there you go. So the very first thing, and this is one that is, I think, to me at least, in my opinion, this is the best tip of all for when it comes to a good way to boost team motivation. And that is to set an example. Set an example. People don't like working for somebody that they perceive as being lazy. They don't like working for somebody who has a bad attitude. They don't like working for somebody who they seem to be marching to their own drum and they don't really care about meeting the team's goals. Be the person who's in every morning before everybody else. Be the person who's there after everybody leaves. Okay. You've got to be able to demonstrate dedication, right? Dedication to the company, dedication to your work. More importantly, dedication to your team. Dedication to your team. Put in the extra effort. Now, at first, it's going to go unnoticed. And that may be a couple of weeks, might be a couple of months. It might even be a couple of years. But put in the extra effort. Eventually, you will build a track record. And next thing you know, people will know that. The second thing, and this kind of falls under set the leadership example, is demonstrate a strong commitment to the company's values and the company's mission. So all good companies have mission statements, right? Know what that mission statement is and be proactive. Have a positive attitude about it because especially if it's your company, right? So embrace that company vision and don't just embrace it just when the going is easy. Also embrace it when the going is tough. My dad always used to say, integrity is what you do when nobody is looking, right? What you do when nobody is looking. So same thing here, right? I always have that good attitude, even when you might be working for a supervisor, and this is not me, I'm just saying, but in the past I have. You might be working for a supervisor that you don't feel the need to give them your all. Well, you know what? Your work ethic is your brand, and you always do the best, right? So remember, even in the challenging situations, always rise up. Always don't let those things kind of bring you down, right? And then also, because when you do that, you're going to find that you're going to inspire your team members, the people that you manage, through those difficult times with your optimism, right? Because it is contagious. It is absolutely contagious. The second one is share your team vision. Share your team vision. Let me change over the graphic there. Bingo. Share your team vision. So what you need to do is you need to be able to clearly articulate the vision and the goals of the team, the short term and the long term. Okay. Short term might be, hey, let's get through this estimate. Let's get through this project. The long term is, hey, we want to make, I was actually say this is midterm, actually. We want to make, $100,000 as a company this year, $1 million as a company this year, 10 million, whatever that goal is. If you don't have a goal, why even play the game? I'm pretty sure when they play football, I'm pretty sure when they play basketball or baseball, they keep score. They keep score. Otherwise, it'd be just a bunch of old, grown, overpaid men just running around on the field. You have to have a goal, right? So be able to clearly articulate that to your team. Now, this might be fellow, technicians in the field. This might be if you're a manager of a department, might be your subordinates, right? Share that vision. We in the communication, I've said this a million times, especially on the podcast. We work in the communications industry. What do we suck at? Communicating. So yeah, communicate the visions, communicate the goals. And if everybody knows where to go, they're going to do their best to work to get to that point. They truly, truly are. And then on top of that, especially if you're managing more than one person, explain to each team member how their contribution is going to help play a crucial role in achieving that vision. It gives them ownership. They're more likely to go ahead and try to get to that goal with you. So, and you can do this in a group meeting. I always found it best to do it in a one-on-one session. Some people don't like to talk about that kind of stuff in front of other team members. Know your team members, right? Some people like to be at the forefront. Some people don't. We in the fire department, we used to call those knob men, because the end of the fire hose is called a knob, and the person who had that position was usually a glory hunter because they knew when the media was taking the picture for the front page, that would be the person who'd be on the front page, the person who was on the knob. That's called a knob man, right? A knob man. So make sure that you can not demonstrate, but you can communicate those goals to that person. Explain to each one how their work, because everybody's got a special, good in one area or another. So explain to them how their skills, how their talents are going to help the team make its goal. Make the goal. Communicate. I can't say that enough. The third thing that you're going to want to do is establish appropriate goals. Now, again, if you're running a project and you're running a crew of technicians, tell them our goal is to pull 10,000 feet of cable a day. Our goal is to terminate 500 jacks a day. Our goal is to test 250 work area outlets a day. Because if they have that goal, they will work towards that goal. They will try to achieve that. And if it's somebody like me, I will try to surpass that goal. I remember one time I was doing I had to go in for some stress tests. This is like 10 years ago. I had to go in for some stress tests. And they put me on the old treadmill, and the treadmill was facing the wall, and they had a poster up on the wall. And on the poster, it said, okay, for this age range, you should be able to achieve this heart rate for this time, blah, blah, blah. So I looked up my age and I said, okay, there's my heart rate and there's my times. I was like, okay, I'm not going to meet that goal. I'm going to exceed that goal. And that's exactly what I did. I kicked it up, and I was almost at a jog. And then when I got done, I promptly threw up everywhere. That's how goal oriented I am. I will make myself sick trying to meet a goal. Absolutely. So accept that goal. Give those teams, that goal. If you're managing a staff of project managers, tell them, look, okay, your goal is to bring in a certain amount of profit. You are supposed to have your number of your projects have to be a certain percentage over or under budget. Give them those goals. Right? And then when you give them, make sure that those goals are aligned with the company's aspirations and the project's aspirations. Right. So, and that's why I said, don't give them a goal like, yeah, you got to watch 10 webinars. What's that to do with me when I'm out here terminating cables? It's got to tie in with what they're doing. Now, if those videos explain to them how to terminate cables more efficiently or estimate projects better, then absolutely do that, right? Number 4, switch back over to my captions. Number 4, build a positive work environment. Again, if you have some hints, make sure you put them in the TikTok feed box. Make sure you put them in the chat box down here. Build a positive work environment. So you really, as a leader, you really want to foster a culture of respect, a culture of trust. If your team doesn't trust you, and the way that you do that is open communications with your team. Be willing to tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? That will build that trust, and that will get you respect because they realize you're a straight shooter and you're going to be doing what you do what you say you're going to do, and you're going to be able to take them through those hard times. Encourage that open dialogue, right? So you hear a lot of managers say, "Well, I have an open door policy." Okay, why wait until they come to you? Why not go to them? Go to them and ask them how they're doing, right? Now you could do this from hosting team meetings, right? Where you can do like a weekly tailgate, a monthly tailgate, whatever. And if you really want to achieve something, serve food. There's something about the human spirit that when you break bread with other people, you feel more connected to them. Let me know if you're the same way. Are you the same way if you are breaking bread with somebody, you feel more connected to them? Because I know I am. And then during those meetings, those weekly meetings, monthly meetings, right? Solicit everybody's input. And if you see somebody in the group who seems to be pretty quiet, ask them. Ask them. Now they might be shy. And if they don't answer, then maybe you might warrant an individual meeting with them. Right. So really you want to create that workspace there where everybody's going to feel comfortable and it's also going to be conducive for productivity. Right. So that way they feel comfortable that they can say what they want to say without any repercussion. And that's where a lot of leaders fails because they will like to beat people up over stuff. They will. They'll if they're afraid to if they tell their manager that they went 5% over on their hours, that their manager is going to read them the riot act. Make it a training thing. We'll talk more about that in a minute, actually, right? So you want to create that workspace where people are comfortable enough to come to you with their problems. People are comfortable enough to come with you with suggestions. Because as a leader, I'm going to tell you now, you do not know everything. You do not know everything. You just don't. You absolutely don't. A good leader is going to surround themselves with people who have strong skill sets and stuff that they're weak in. And since you brought these experts to surround you, what good is it going to do if you don't listen? Got to listen to that input. Don't let your ego get in the way, right? Don't let your ego get in the way. The fifth tip is going to be share performance feedback. Share performance feedback. Oh, I can put on the caption there. Share performance feedback. And it's kind of ironic because right now we're doing performance feedback evaluations at work, right? But instead of waiting to only do it once a year, why not do it once a month? It doesn't have to be formal, right? Just meet regularly and talk to them. Say, hey, how you doing? What challenge are you having? And one of my pet peeves about a supervisor I worked for once, I was out in the field working for, I don't know, 8-10 years, and he never came out to see what I did. He relied on my performance and what I told him. He relied on my performance and what other people told him about me. Why not go out there to see what you? Because as a leader, if a leader comes out to where I'm working to see what I'm doing, I know that they care enough to come to see exactly for themselves if I'm doing good. So yeah, you don't have to wait for that once a year performance evaluation. The formalized thing. Meet with them, once a month, once every 2 weeks, right? And then ask them, hey, give them constructive feedback. Don't, again, like I said, start off by praising them. Hey, look, you're doing this really good. You're doing that really good. Here's some areas where I see we can improve upon. So let's try this. Let's try that. Remember, it's all about the words that you choose. All about the words you choose. And to close out the shared performance feedback, encourage encourage a growth mindset, right? Encourage a growth mindset. I was teaching a class last week. I won't say where. And I was talking to the guys during one of the breaks. And I happened to mention something about, we were talking about how one type of connector doesn't really perform better than another type of connector. And I told him, I said, yeah, I took a 100-foot piece of cable and I cut the ends off and I terminated it, tested, cut it off, terminated again. He goes, man, you must be really bored if you're doing that. No, I did it because I'm curious by nature. I want to learn. I don't take at face value what most people tell me. I have to do some kind of test to prove it myself, right? I'm always looking to grow. Now, that's one way I do it. Other way I do it is I take, if I find a way to take a free class, dude, I am all over that. And if you're taking time to find a free class and you're trying to encourage that growth mindset, if you think one of the people on your team would benefit from that, why not share it with them? Why not share it with them? And if you encourage the growth mindset, then they are going to be more likely to watch that training thing that you gave them. Sorry, my mind pulled a blank there. Number 6, express appreciation. Express appreciation. There's another one too. I was talking to a recruiting officer once, many years ago, when I worked for a contractor, and because he was the recruiter for the company, when he would hire people and they would come in, they always felt a connection to him because he was the first person that they interacted with within the company. So they would always come in and give him feedback on how, especially like, for example, if they were leaving, right? You always do that exit interview, but they would always come to the recruiter and talk to him because he nourished that relationship with them. And the biggest complaint that he heard wasn't not that people didn't make enough money or they had the titles. The biggest thing that they regretted, or not regretted, but they felt that the company didn't nourish them with, was a pat on the back once in a while. Hey, good job. Good job. So acknowledge the performance. Acknowledge the performance. And here's a good thing. If you can, acknowledge that performance in public, in front of everybody. Yeah, make sure that people hear you're saying, hey, this is John. Man, he brought that project in 10% on the budget that we thought we were going to lose money on, and blah, 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 blah. Praise in public. Praise in public. Highlight their, the achievements they did. And if they hit a certain like milestone, for let's say, for example, when I got my RCDD, my Registered Communications Distribution Certification, I tried for that thing for a little over a year. And for those of you who are in the ICT industry, you know that that's not an easy thing to get. When I got the phone call from BICSI that I achieved it, I went to my boss and said, look, I passed the test. And, the boss at the time, his name was David. He got on the speaker at the office and he said, ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate Chuck Bowser. He just got his RCDD. At first, I was kind of a little bit embarrassed about that. But you know what? That just showed me that he was celebrating in my milestone and my success as much as I was. So learn how to do that. Learn how to embrace that and get into that. So somebody asked me, will I see me at the BICSI show in Orlando, the winter conference? The answer is, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I want to be there. I might have training that week. I don't know. We'll see. My goal is to be there. Watch the channel, and I will certainly let you know if I am going. I did have an opportunity to speak at BICSI this year, but because of my training schedule and some other things going on, I had to kind of back out of that because I wasn't 100% positive that I could have done that. So, but my goal is to be there, though. My goal is absolutely be there. Okay, let's go to tip number 7 for those following along. Provide learning opportunities. I kind of already touched base on this already, right? Knowledge is power. That's my motto. Knowledge is power, right? Let me take a sip of tea while I'm here. The more knowledge you have, the more valuable you are to your employers, the more valuable you are to customers. So invest in training. And you don't, Not every class you take, you have to pay money for. I mentioned that earlier. There's free classes. Right, Cable Installation and Maintenance Magazine. They do free webinars every month. All the manufacturers do free classes. And then there's a bunch of classes out there that are like, 25, $30. I'm going to put out a couple of them myself. Make sure you pay attention. I got my fire stopping class. I'm going to be putting it out on video next month. Yeah, so you can actually go there and watch that. And I got some other ones in the works as well. So yeah, you make sure that you learn, and then also know what areas of weaknesses your team members are, and suggest training specifically for them. Right, and just to kind of tie in with what the person just said on the screen. Am I going to the BICSI conference? Encourage your team members to go to those conferences. Right, but Chuck, they're a technician. They're pulling cable. So what? You know how much stuff you can learn as a technician by going to a BICSI conference? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. My favorite thing to do at the BICSI conference is to go through the exhibit hall and see all the new products. You don't think technicians don't want to do that? Yes, absolutely do that. So encourage to your people that you're leading continuous learning, especially in our industry, because our industry moves at the speed of light, at the speed of light. And if you're not always learning, you will get left behind. The way we're doing cabling just 20 years ago has changed from the way it is now. So try to create maybe like an internal sharing platform, right? Maybe if your company has like an intro web, create a web page where people can suggest, hey, I found this free study thing, Corey and Steve, to help people get their RCDDs. I know this study group here on Discord, right? Create that culture of learning, the inquisitive culture. And my wife will love this one. She will absolutely love this one. Avoid micromanagement. Micromanagement. Yeah, one of the bosses she used to work for, he used to say that, I trust my members. I'll tell them to do, but he would micromanage down to where if he asked them to write a letter for something, they would write the letter, but he had to see it first, and then he would change something and send it back, and then he micromanaged it down to the point to where it was frustrating. Don't micromanage your teams. That's a killer right there of motivation. Give your team members the autonomy to take the ownership of their work, right? Because if they have ownership in their work, they will do a lot better, right? So example, maybe you might want to trust that certified technician to manage that low voltage project independently, right? Trust, but follow up. Who said that? Was it Colin Powell? I think maybe. I don't know. Trust but verify. I think that's what he said. Yeah. Yeah. So, if they got that certification, I did a project. I was running a team at the Supreme Court building. Yes, that Supreme Court building. And so my lead foreman there was a BICSI certified tech. And I went out to do a QA inspection on it. I noticed that he was using Sharpies for all the faceplates. And I said, what are you doing that for? That's not allowed. That's not a best practice. He goes, yeah, Chuck, I know. I tried to explain that to the customer, but the customer didn't want to listen to me. So I met with the customer and I explained to him. And of course, because I was the project manager at the time, I was like, oh, okay. But he didn't trust that technician. Had that technician felt like he had the open avenue to come to me, we probably could have saved us some time on the project, because he had to go back and relabel about 25% of one of the floors, right? Yeah. So yeah, when you get that autonomy, that helps them take ownership of their work. The best way to do that is delegate tasks and responsibilities. Say, look, it's your job to run this project. If you're running a crew, your project manager running a crew, okay, you 4 guys, your job is to pull the cables for this quadrant. You 4 guys, your job is to pull the fiber optic backbone. You guys, your job is to run the copper backbone. And I expect you to pull 40,000 feet of cable a day. I expect 5 fiber optic runs again. Again, you give them, you're empowering them. Yeah, you can go back and check it later. And here's the thing: when you go back to check up on somebody, you don't necessarily have to let them know you're checking up on them. You can check on them in silence, because then they realize, yeah, he told me to do this, and I did it. You didn't have to come back and check on me. Right. Number 9, allow for flexibility. Allow for flexibility. Now, for example, if you got a crew out in the field, again, kind of ties in with the previous one we were just talking about, where you're not micromanaging, you're giving them autonomy. If a crew out in the field says, look, I want to run down a different hallway, and again, you built that trust with them, give them the flexibility to do that, make those decisions on the fly, right? because that's going to help them. That's going to help them. And here's the thing, a lot of flexibility that kind of ties in here that a lot of people don't think about. And I wish somebody had done this with me. Acknowledge the importance of work-life balance. Yes, I really wish that I had a better work-life balance when I was a younger worker, because I felt my family suffered because of that. And that's one of my biggest regrets. I mentioned on a podcast not too long ago. Up at 6:30 already. Oh boy, we're almost done. One more. 10. Cultivate a fun workplace. Cultivate a fun workplace. Yes, people are going to be happy when you're doing things with them, right? So, for like a team in the field, I used to create competitions amongst the crews, and whoever won the competition, I would, maybe take them out for a couple drinks, or maybe buy them pizza, whatever, and then also foster that sense of camaraderie. They work better when they work as a team, right? You'd even do, like, have somebody come in and say, if somebody's really good, like let's say you got a guy in the crew who's really good at terminating fiber, maybe have that guy just teach a couple 20-minute class, 30-minute class so the people don't, and to make it a fun thing out of it, and say, look, whoever does the connector the fastest or has the best test results, you get XYZ, right? So have a good way to have a fun workplace, and that's one of the things that we really miss out on as leaders in our industry. Let's go check the chat boxes before we done. So there we go. Networking, yes, absolutely. Networking is a good one as well. So there we go. That's our 10 tips for motivating your crews. Until next time, everybody, remember, knowledge is power.